Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. We are recording this, so if you have team members or colleagues who are looking to join this or look at this, we will have a recording available to all registrants after this. So as a starting point, I'll just introduce myself, turn on my video for a second. I'll probably turn it off afterwards because it's a bit fuzzy, but my name's Tom. I'm a co-founder of BluMortgage and here to really show you some of our best practices in terms of, and today we're going to be focused on composing emails, task and event management, and then to round it out, reports and analytics. So a lot to pack in. The goal is to get as much as we can done by 1:20 Eastern, so about just over 15 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to open it up to a bit of a Q&A. So without any further ado, I'll dive into it. I just want to make sure that my audio is working properly. So if anybody in the Q&A can just give me a thumbs up that the audio is working, then that'll give me the cue to get started. Great, thanks, Matt. Okay, so let's dive into it. So like I said, we're going to be focused on kind of best practices today. So to start, I'm going to, and Tiff, if you're on the call, if you can just allow me to be presenter so I can share my screen, that would be great. I can just make myself presenter, never mind. So I'm sharing my screen, and I'll just share my entire screen here. So like I said, we're going to be talking about best practices and how you can use those as it relates to emails and task management. So this here is BluMortgage. So for folks who are using BluMortgage on the webinar, this will look very familiar to you. If you are not using BluMortgage, then just as a very, very quick overview, this is a CRM built for the needs of a mortgage broker. There's many aspects to it. Keeping track of your mortgage deals, borrowers that you work with, referral partners, even your lenders, staying up to date with them through communications and tasks is just one small aspect of the things that are BluMortgage, but that's the quick summary there. So with the CRM, this is the one we'll be using this to kind of go over some of these best practices. So for starters, we wanted to talk about emails, sending emails, getting response, tracking those responses, and that sort of thing. So to do that, I'm going to take a look at borrowers because that's who I'm going to be emailing. It's going to be my borrowers. Of course, I could be emailing my partners, even my lenders, but everything I showed you in the borrower section can be applied to the other sections. So I'll just be focusing on borrowers for now. So if I click into a borrower, you get this, or the borrower section at least, you get this view here. And this, once again, should be familiar to BluMortgage users. And this here, you can see I'm just filtered on my prospects. So this is a great example of, from a best practice perspective, how I might want to send a mass email. So sending the mass email itself is not so much a best practice. It's a kind of standard functionality, but some of the follow-ups and things you can do around it, I'll be sure to focus on in terms of best practices. So here, actually sending the mass email. So let's at least set that up. So if I have a list of my prospects and I want to send each of them an email with my online link, right? So I can come in here and I can select everybody here if I wanted to, and then maybe take about Massimo and Kathy and maybe a couple other people here because I know, I know that they shouldn't receive the application. So I have this list of about 13 people here that I want to receive the email. And so what you can do to send the mass email is you just click send email, and this little screen pops up. Select the template, and here's a good one. Online application invitation. Here's a quick snapshot of the actual thing. Hey, begin your mortgage process. Please click on the link below to be brought to our mortgage portal. That seems perfect. And so actually creating these email templates and that sort of thing, we've definitely talked about in previous webinars as well as trainings for BluMortgage. If you do have questions on composing these types of emails, please do reach out to our support team and we'd be happy to help. So we selected the templates and everything so far is kind of standard stuff, right? I could just hit send and boom, there we go. It's been sent out. So now let's talk about some of these kind of more so best practices. How do we add to this process to get the most out of it? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is just the reply to. So you can start by saying just a fixed email. So this is the email I have on the account. I just have one account. Or you could say the record owners. This is usually a better practice. So the person who owns the lead or owns the prospect is the one who's actually going to look like the one who sent the email, which is great. And one thing I will mention, it's not like a BCC. It'll look as though, the record owner opened up their Outlook, composed the email, and sent it out. And so that's a big perk of doing it this way as opposed to the BCC. So that's one thing, is the from. Scheduling now or later, that's straightforward, but sometimes that helps. Maybe you want to send it in the morning. 10 a.m. is usually the time that people get the most responses. I think there's been some studies, at least that's the ones I've read, have been 10 a.m. So that you might want to schedule it maybe tomorrow for 10 a.m. You could do something like that. And then the real kind of cool things would be the follow-up action. So what you can do now is you can say, okay, if an email is opened or if an email is clicked, I can do my follow-up action. So I love this one. I use it all the time. So I could say, okay, if one of my emails are clicked, so there's a link in there, so someone clicks that link, then I can have any of these follow-up actions: a field update, a follow-up task, or a scheduling a call. So for me, I like to do a follow-up task. So I can say hit configure, and I can just say follow up, something very similar like that. It's due 1 day after the link is clicked. It's not started yet, and the priority is high, and it's assigned to the record owner. I can hit done. And then just like that, I've got that configured. I'd hit done again. And now all of this looks good, and I'll just simply hit schedule because I put it for tomorrow morning. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to say send immediately, and I can hit send. And so just like that, I've just emailed my 13 leads. Looks like it came from the record owner, and I know as soon as someone clicks one of those links, I'm gonna get a task to follow up. And so that's one part of it. And then what's equally as important is following up and seeing your kind of statistics based on the email that was sent. So let's do that. View email statistics here. So I click onto this. And I can see it's a really great view to kind of see exactly what happened. So 4 actually delivered. If you remember on this previous view, see 9 could not be sent out actually, but 4 sent, 4 were actually delivered, but that's where it stopped. And I see 4 have been unopened, but as soon as they get opened, I can see, okay, a certain percentage were open, and then of that, how many clicked and not clicked. So I get a really nice breakdown of the emails that were sent. And if I go back, I can actually see this by going in the 3 dots area and just go to my mass email section here. It's a bit hard to find, but there it is in my sent folder, that email that I just sent out. So that's sending emails out from a mass perspective. From one case-by-case perspective, you could click into this case Tom testing here. And the first thing I always mention, and I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but it's very important to do, is you can actually integrate with your email. So that's a best practice for sure, is integrating with your email. So even if I send an email from my Gmail, Outlook, whatever you use, it will automatically appear in this section. So if I send an email to Tom Testing from my Gmail, that's what I use. With an integration, it'll automatically appear here. So really kind of powerful. But I also say, if possible, try sending it from the CRM. And you can do that by just hitting send email. And the reason I suggest that is because then you get some tracking, which is, I guess, another one of those best practices, is being able to see exactly the status, if it was sent, if it was opened, if it was clicked. All those things come into play if I'm sending it from the CRM. So that's why I always like, hey, I want to send it from the CRM. And I can compose my own email. You can see a little editor will pop up. Or what I could also do is I could choose one of my existing templates. So this is a great tool to use if you like templates, but you want to tweak each of them. So I can come in here and I can say, use this template, this thing pops up, and then I can come in here and make some adjustments, and I can say, hi, Tom, maybe I want to add in, great talking to you, go Leafs, go. I don't know, right? Something a bit more personal to add to this pre-templated email. And then once you feel good about this, I could hit send, and the template made it very quick for me to compose that. And now I can see here, well, there's that mass email I sent. Tom was included on it. And then also there was this individual one that was sent, and they're both just sent right now. If Tom was to open them, you could see that they were open. If he's clicked, we'd see they were clicked. And we know that if this one's clicked, an automatic task will be generated. So that's kind of the email section there. So that's the one piece that I definitely wanted to cover. The other thing that I wanted to cover in terms of best practices would be activities, so tasks and events specifically. So when I look at Tom testing, I'm actually going to stay right here. And I'm going to say, if I scroll down, you can see that there's the activities section down here, open activities, and you can see tasks and meetings. Those are the ones I'm going to be focusing on today. And so for kind of a best practice perspective, you can use both of these to kind of manage your client. What I like to do, so just to show you tasks, generating tasks is very straightforward, right? So maybe I need to follow up with Tom, straightforward task. Due date, setting a due date, that's fine. One thing that I will say is you can use this over here to see there's some pre-templated subjects. So if you just want to say, I just want to email this person, I can pop that in and now I don't have to type that subject each time. It's kind of like a template I did for my emails, but for the tasks now. So I can use this to do that. And then due date straightforward, priority, once again, fairly straightforward. And then owner, this is important, who actually does the task. So you can assign it to yourself or maybe one of your teammates as well. One thing I will say is that if you assign it to your teammates, there'll be a little checkbox that appears down here, down here where my mouse is, to notify the client or party notify the owner. And I suggest doing that because it's a great way to make sure that everyone knows what they need to be doing. And so that's the tasks there. And then the other things you can do, which are maybe some of the more best practice things, is set a reminder for yourself. So you could say, okay, on the day, on the day, or you could say 1 day before or 2 days before, but I like to say on the day, on the due date at 9 a.m., I want to get an alert by an email or a pop-up or maybe both. I like to get emails, so I could say that. And so that's basically going to say, and I could, there's no repeat, but I could, if I did the previous day, or let's just say on. And this way, when the actual day comes for this task, I'm actually getting an email. So I'm getting reminded twice of this task that I need to do. And then also the repeat, I could say, okay, this is a task I need to do every day or every week or every month. So just a kind of a way to more efficiently make these tasks. So I could say weekly after 2 times, stop after 2 times, hit done, and then hit save. So now I have this task that's automatically created. I can see that I have them already lined up here for me, automatically created 2 of them. They're both called email, and I need to email Tom testing on the 7th as well as the 14th. And I'm going to be reminded for both of those. So that's kind of tasks. Honestly, they're fairly straightforward. I guess really the best practice is using tasks. Scribbling things down in your notebook's okay, but tasks are great because they appear everywhere, right? They appear here. I got to email them. Go back to my borrowers, and if I refresh this page, we can see that those tasks will appear next to Tom's name, right? I can even hover over that and I can see it, and also appear on my home page if I select over here. And there they are, email. So you're always reminded of these tasks. So it's a really great tool to use. And you can take advantage and be very efficient with your tasks based on those tools that I showed you. And then the last thing I like to say, so similar to the email, I encourage you to make your events in the CRM. So just like with the email, you can make your events in your Outlook calendar or whatever it is that you use, and you can integrate that and that works fine. But I like to actually make my events in the CRM, and I'll show you why. So to do that, first of all, I'll scroll down in the open activities section. So maybe I'll just clear these out. You can see they pop into close activities. And what I like to do now in my open activities is I can create a meeting. So meeting is just like it's an event. It acts exactly the same way as an event in your Outlook calendar, for example. And it's, like I said, it works the same way. So I can just go through here, new meeting's fine. Let's make this an online meeting. And so if you're using Zoho One, this will automatically integrate with Zoho Meeting and create an online meeting for you. So that's a great tip. That's one of the benefits of using it in your CRM. Or you can just say, I'll call you. Maybe that's the location, I don't know. And then everything else here is standard stuff that you would expect. So the time, maybe I'll do it tomorrow at 2, and then the host as well as the participants. So these are kind of the standard stuff you do in Outlook. And I can say, okay, I want to add Tom Teston as a participant. There he is. And then everything else down here is why I like to do it in the CRM. not only the meeting piece, but now I can relate it to a borrower. So now I can say it's related to Tom testing. If he has a mortgage, I could say exactly what mortgage it's related to. And based on that, now I know, see, it's just like an online invitation. I can send it out. And now I know here every meeting that I've ever done with him. So it's a great way to track, great way to follow up. And when it's in my CRM, I talk about follow-ups. I could have automations based on this too. So every time I have a new meeting in there, I want to email the client 1 hour before to remind them of it. So you're kind of taking that type of automation and putting it in your own hands by having it in the CRM, and it allows you to keep track of everything you've ever done. And as I mentioned before, with the integration with Outlook, this can automatically happen. Hey, I create this in the CRM, it's going to push to my Outlook or push to my Gmail. So those things can automatically happen. So we're getting a bit tight on time here. So we talked about emails, we talked about tasks and events, and then I want to talk about reports and analytics. And this will be a bit of a quicker one, admittedly, just because of the time, but I'm going to continue through and then we'll get to the Q&A at the end. So this here is the report section here, and I was going to go through actually creating a report, but I'm actually going to skip it for this webinar. This is something that our sales team has done, or pardon me, our support team can definitely help you with, done 100 times. So if you are curious about creating reports, we have a great team. Please email support@blueroot.ca. But so I'm not going to do that today, as you can probably tell for that prelude. So what I will show you, though, when it comes to reports is how you can schedule a report. This is one of my favorite features. So what you can do is you can click this, put the fifth one down here, scheduled reports, and I can click new report scheduler. And so from this, I can actually go in here and I can say any of those reports that I generated, so things that are kind of summarize my information, I can have them automatically sent to me on a frequent basis. So let's go through that. So maybe, look at my favorites. I really like, mortgages renewing in the next 6 months. I want that every single month, the first of the month. Let's just say that. So I'll choose that one. And what do I want? I like Excel, so I can kind of play around with it. So I'm going to get an Excel file. And the first time it's going to be sent to me is on the 1st at, 7 a.m. before I show, 5 a.m. before I show up at work. And then this is a cool one. I could say I want this to happen every single month. It never ends, or I could say a certain number of times, but I like never ends. And then I can choose who actually receives it. So it can be Mr. BluMortgage here. That's me. This is the user in the system, and I can hit save. And then schedule. And then just like that, every single day on the 1st of the month at 5 a.m., I'm going to get this report that's going to hit my inbox. And it's just a great tool. So now if I'm not in the CRM all the time, which I do suggest you to do that, but if that's not the case, at least you're getting reminded of these key dates, of these key things that are happening on a regular basis. It's not going to be any manual work. That's all going to be automated for you. And so that was reports. And then finally, analytics. So once again, probably not the amount of detail that I would have liked to go into this, but I'd like to do one full dashboard element, kind of go start to finish, just to show you how you can do some of this stuff. So what I'd like to create is maybe I want to create a thermometer, just like these ones. And what I want it to be is mortgage amount that I've closed this year. That seems like a pretty relevant one. So let's take a look at that. And I see I've done that down here, but let's recreate it. So this is when I come into analytics, this is how I create new components. So I can come into here, there's KPIs. So that's what that was in the bottom left, just kind of giving you the quick numbers. There's a funnel. So this is a really valuable one, kind of seeing your conversion rates. All these can be constructed the same way I'm about to show you, but what I'm going to show you is a target meter. So I'll click target meter. And then the one I want to choose I like this one actually. This is my favorite. So we'll click this one here. And so it's a target meter bar. And so as I go through this, I can start naming it. So I can say component name. This one's going to be called yearly mortgage amount closed. So it really easy kind of walks you through it, but I'm going to walk through every piece of it here. I'm going to say I want to select a target. So this target can be for an individual person maybe, or a pick list value. So maybe it's just, purchases, right? So if I say mortgages and then transaction type, is purchase, right? So I can set a target even for my purchases if I wanted to, but I'll just do the entire organization to keep it simple. So entire organization. And then what am I measuring? So it's mortgages, that's right. And what I actually want to do is sum the amount of mortgages. Now, this is important, but that's not the full story, right? What I might need to add is some criteria, which I'll definitely do here. I'll say, hey, I only want to count these mortgages if I've actually closed them. So mortgage close. So I can add criteria as much as I need to kind of really refine this, right? And maybe this is another way that I could say, and I only want to count it if the transaction type is a purchase, right? I can add those types of things and start building up these conditions. So I like that, just state as mortgage closed. And then I can say, okay, closing date is this year, just like that. And my target is I want to do, I don't know, 10 million worth. And then all I'd have to do is hit save. And then there it is. I've 5.5 million done to my $10 million target. I got 4.4 remaining. And then what's one really cool thing is I can go to my homepage now, go to my, I don't know, BluMortgage homepage, and I can add a component, dashboard widget here, and then I can choose that exact thing. So if I remember it correctly, I think it was in the, yearly amount mortgage, and I can just say yearly amount closed. Again, I can show this, hit save. And just like that, that target that I just created got added to my home page. I can reorder it, bring it to the top. Maybe I want it near the top, hit save. And there we go. I just created a dashboard widget and added it to my home page, which is a pretty cool tool to do. So that's the dashboard widgets. So we kind of talked about emails, that best practices. We talked about tasks and events, those best practices, and then finally reports and analytics. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second, and I'm going to open it up to Q&A now. So I know I went a little bit over time, and I apologize for that. But if anybody has questions or comments, now would be the time to do it.